Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Mark Marquette. So glad you're with us today to stay curious. As you see, I have a wonderful guest with us, Daniel de Jong. Daniel, welcome to our set here.
Nice to see you again.
Yeah, great to see you again. We had Alex Carl from Germany on our last show uh, last Friday, talking about his involvement with ESA and all that was going on with the Axiom 4, which it looks like they're going to try to launch somewhere after 4 in the morning, Thursday, early morning. And you're here because you flew in from
Boston.
Boston to Orlando.
Yep, that's it.
And Daniel just didn't fly in, he flew the airplane, one of them big Spirit Airbuses, the 320, right? You're a pilot for how long you been a pilot for commercial flights?
Commercial. Well, I've been flying for Spirit for almost 19 years, and prior to that, I was a cargo pilot. Did that for about 10 years.
Okay, all
And
right. Please speak up a little bit. Not in your soft Dutch dialect there. I know how they are there, but everybody wants to hear what you have to say. Become a good friend of mine personally when you visited the museum, and like everybody else, Alex Carl, the German ESA rep that was here. Uh, you guys really, it's the museum that keeps bringing you back, not me. Okay.
that's right.
And you looked around the museum. You see, look the same to you, looking good to you.
It definitely looks good. The little things here and there that either have moved or added or have been, things have changed just a little bit.
Well, we like that. We like that. We want to keep up with the times, and here's the publicity I put up there. We love talking and getting the European view of the American space program. And, we love talking about the shuttle era. Daniel found us, about 4 years ago. He did an excellent program last April, just put his name in there, Daniel de Jong, captain of Spirit Airlines there. And you'll see an interview that we did with him that was pretty in depth about your experience at Star City.
The Russian training program, and how they go about training everybody to fly on the Soyuz and on the space station as well, and a little history there on Mir. That training module is still there as well.
Huh. We have a picture or two to share about that, but of course that was bittersweet a year ago because your wife Luda is from the Ukraine,
Correct.
and you travel to the Ukraine frequently. So, politics aside, what are you all still going through in the Ukraine? It's not your permanent home, is it? There,
Not yet.
not yet.
I do hope it's going to be here.
But this war with Russia has come right to your doorstep, literally.
It has complicated a lot of things. It has complicated travel mainly. Before I could just get on an airplane in Detroit and we'll switch planes in Frankfurt, and then total travel time of about 15 hours, and now sometimes it's up to 48 hours
My God. Wow.
to travel the same distance.
Huh.
Because you can fly to the border with Poland most of the time, and then it's a train from there.
Well, is there an end in sight with this conflict?
Um, Not really.
3 years it's been going on,
Yeah,
correct?
right. Peace between independent Ukraine and Russia is difficult.
Okay.
Everything was fine with Russia when the Ukraine was still under the Russian influence.
Soviet Socialist Republic.
Right. When as long as they have a pro-Russian person there, which was the case right after the Soviet Union fell apart, things were fine. But then the Western world started to move in, and now we have a pro-European president, and to Vladimir Putin, that's a problem.
Okay. Well, our thoughts and prayers with you. When I see things going on there, I think about you and your wife Luda as friends. That it's right there at their doorstep. You said you were there during an attack, and
Yeah.
you all sought safety.
Yeah, I looked out the window and and we heard the explosion, and I saw the cloud, the smoke cloud. After that, shortly after that, we could see the air defense starting to go to work. Especially when they use tracers, you can see that fly through the sky. The last time was the first time I actually heard cruise missiles fly over the house, and shortly after that,
What town is this?
Kiev.
Oh, you're in Kiev.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Kiev there. All right. And well, like I said, good luck. We think about you, and of course, well, we know who the right side is on that conflict. And like I said, what more can we say? To change things a little lighter way, you've got a cool shirt on there because you were inverted. There is you're there, and Marty Winkle, my co-producer on here, for 5 years, we're doing about 1,306 episodes now with you on here. And Marty said, be sure and mention to everybody that we're not doing a black and white version of the show and just making you color. We got a picture of the your shirt, and we've got a picture of the Cape Canaveral Space Force that you took from your window of your airplane one day. There.
Yeah, I was en route to Puerto Rico. This was right after we passed this point. We made our turn towards the islands.
Uh-huh.
So that was a perfect view. It was a nice day too.
Yeah, yeah. Not sure if I made that black and white or what's going on, but we chose as the backdrop there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marty, for all that you've done to keep Stay Curious going here. And we're going to talk about today's an important day in space history. This is Valentina Tereshkova Day. If you hadn't seen on any of your social media, you'll see it on ours about 6 o'clock today when it's posted with some information about the first woman to go to space. And we'll talk about that here in just a couple minutes. This weekend, we had a big Marty. We had a big historic date in space history that many people missed, and that's when we put Big Bird in space. Okay, and not exactly like this. This is some AI generated image that I created. Big Bird. Known on Sesame Street. You said in the Ukraine, not in the Ukraine, in the Netherlands, when
Right.
you were in school, you had your own Big Bird.
Yeah, it's the same bird except they call him Pino.
Bino?
Pino.
Oh, Pino.
Yeah.
Pino.
Yeah,
So you had Sesame Street there in Dutch, huh?
that's correct. Yeah.
Well, of course, I am making a reference to the hexagonal system, or the KH 19, or it had what other number? You guys will correct me on the numbers there. For the first time, America launched this important spy satellite in 1971. As you see, it had a mapping sensor, cameras on it, and film are in those pods to be ejected after the film was exposed. So they would go through reentry, so they needed to, heat shields to get through that, and then they were snagged in midair. The Corona satellite pioneered that, and then the film ushered back to wherever to be processed. Everything top secret back in the day. But in today's world, some of that stuff's been declassified, Daniel. There's a photograph of Keyhole, was its nickname, Keyhole or Big Bird. And here is a photograph of a landing strip in Moscow airfield. They're showing you the detail in 1971 that they could figure out.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good back then, huh?
Yeah.
And of course, today they can probably I mean, they don't show you the real stuff. They show you what they need to just to kind of pacify the American taxpayer. Because I'm sure the resolution went down to a wing down there or something in there. Now, if you had all the thousands of air flights, airline miles you have as a pilot, what's your take on this clandestine spy versus spy stuff that went on?
Back then,
Yeah.
Uh,
And now,
well, right now it's of course it's all satellite based. We don't really fly over other countries anymore with our U2s and SR-71s. Um, but all you gotta do is look at a product like Google Earth to see how accurate it is, and how well you can see. You leave a small football on your driveway, you can see it.
yeah, right. And there's companies now that are charging you to see it.
Right.
People like home improvements and roofing companies and stuff use satellite imagery to show you that your roof is bad. And
Yeah.
drone technology too, another thing on there. So if you're into aviation, you got a question for Daniel. If you flew on a big Airbus, whatever, we're going to open it up to you to ask questions whenever you want here. Kicking off today here on June 16th. There you are. Uh, Thumbs up there in command. Commander's seat there, we'd call it in a space shuttle. Interesting that there was a commander and a pilot, which was really the pilot and co-pilot.
But at NASA, they don't like to be called co-pilot.
Yeah,
So,
right. So that's was the distinction there
yeah.
on there. So we got some friends that you met, like Tommy Usiak saying hello, Captain. Nice to see you.
Hi, Tom.
Robert Law up in Dundee, Scotland. You certainly saw him at ShuttleFest 4,
Right.
running around there with his kilt. And Gary Gerald, good afternoon to you, Gary. Tom Celentano up in Connecticut posted a picture of Tom uh, and Dean Babcock on our Facebook today. Dean Babcock saying good afternoon, Steve Jokums up there in Fox Lake, Illinois. Let's see who else we got. RG Jubilee wishing everybody a happy Father's Day. And Carlton Bailey, he's saying hello to us. Carlton, we had a scrub today. Dave Stangy is watching. He's playing outside with his little granddaughter Mia today. So maybe she'll get inspired to be a flyer here with Daniel de Jong here with us today. Show you a couple other pictures here in a minute, and then we'll get into a little tribute to Valentina Tereshkova, and then we'll see your pretty wife in India. We want to talk to you about your visit to the India Space Center there. But we had a scrub of a launch today. The Kuiper satellite system for Amazon going up on a United Launch Alliance rocket got scrubbed. They said because of weather conditions in the upper atmosphere and downrange, and we immediately we're just 3 blocks from where everybody watches on the shores over here on the far right to watch the rocket launches. Where your head is, Daniel, is where Titusville is. And good day here at the museum. About 20 people rushed in here, saw our signs out there at Space View Park. And so we've had a good day here. And Elena Adkaher is watching from South Africa.
Wow.
And not sure what town she's in, but she found us a while back. Wanted to show another picture here of you. And you've done a lot of cool things that you all be envious out there. Including your visit to Star City and training like a cosmonaut. And you've been on the Vomit Comet.
Yeah,
Where was this?
this was here over Florida. We took off from Orlando and flew around over the Gulf for a couple hours and doing the Parabolas.
Uh-huh. How'd you like that?
Oh, I loved it. It was great. It was not as crowded as it sometimes is.
Okay.
So typically on the 727, the compartment or the fuselage is divided in 3. Now there was not as many people, so they divided it in 2. So we had a lot more play space, so to speak. That was a lot of fun.
Good. Good. Well, you've also been to the museum many times, and there's a guy that just said hello to you, Doug Forrest, with his lovely wife Tomiko there. Not Tomiko, Yoshiko. there. Tomiko's another lady with our Japanese group there, but they were here a couple years ago. Y'all were here and visited us, and I guess that was during Shuttle Fest, maybe Shuttle Fest 2.
I think so.
I think
Yeah.
he came with it by himself on there. So, uh, and yes, a couple comments there that there was some temperature purge problems with the booster engine, not the weather. Carlton says nothing to do with the weather. It was due to an engineering observation on an elevated purge temper within the booster engine. So, gee, United Launch Alliance, you're launching 4 or 5 rockets a year, you
Yeah.
know. You need to be let's get them babies going up there when they're supposed to, because a lot of people were let down today. There's no look at when it's going to be rescheduled, but Carlton said they've instructed the photographers like himself to pick up the remote cameras, so it's not going to
It's
go
gonna be a
tomorrow or the
while.
next day. And
Right.
the remote camera battery life is such that they're probably glad of that, so they can get out there and get them again. So thanks, CB, for the update there. And before we get into Valentina Tereshkova, just kind of want to you spend time in Detroit,
Hmm.
right? You have another home in Detroit, or
Right. Yeah. But
and have some family up there.
no, there's no family.
Oh, okay.
It's just the house, and that's it. That's still there, about an hour to the north of the airport.
But you are in Europe frequently, of course.
Yeah, as much as I can. Sometimes I'll stay stateside for a month or so. Like obviously that house needs a little maintenance from time to time. So in July, I'm gonna stay on this side of the pond, work on the house a little bit. It also resets my flight and duty uh, requirements, so that once July is over, then in August I pack all my trips together again, and I'll do the same thing in the month after that, and that creates like 4 weeks off that I will use to go home on.
Excellent. So Dave Stange, who's up in Macomb, Michigan, is probably wondering what town that is that you're based in.
The house is in Waterford.
Waterford. Okay.
Yes,
In there.
it's right next to the Pontiac Airport.
Okay.
Because I flew out of there for about 10 years.
All right. So, what is the perception to Europeans and other people around the world who you talk with? You were just in India. I was amazed when you were. I was seeing Facebook posts and alerts you, and I go, man, Daniel's in India. He really gets around. So, what's the perception of the American space program, particularly in light of the little public confrontation that Elon Musk and our President Donald Trump have had played out in the media the last month?
Well, um, it it doesn't make us look good. Let's put it that way. All
America.
correct. All this public fighting. It's not really promoting uh, us as a. It just doesn't look good.
Hmm.
We'll just stick with that.
Okay.
So
Well, and the Artemis program. I mean, uh, what's the perception? We had the free world backing us to go to the moon 50 years ago,
hmm
of course, and we've got this Artemis Accord with I forget 40 some signatures now on that. So what's the perception of that through a space lover like yourself?
the enthusiasm that existed during the Apollo program does not exist today. It's a little different. People have other things on their mind, especially with everything that's going on in Europe. The Europeans are they're worried about war.
Okay.
My parents and their fellow Dutch citizens are being instructed by the government to prepare for war.
Wow.
Um, you know,
Your
it,
parents live where?
they live near The Hague.
Okay.
So they're instructed to get their certain things in order, like your emergency kit, so that you can survive on your own for a few days once once things start happening.
Any conflict. So, like we do for hurricanes here. Of
Right.
course, we're seeing a lot of hurricane preparedness sort of things. In fact, I've been putting some gallons of water aside and bought a couple cases, water,
Yeah,
just some rations, if you will. But that's kind of hits me right. Wow, really? The Europe theater is preparing for a possible imminent conflict with Russia.
that is correct.
Huh.
Yes. They,
Okay. Something that we don't think about here in our land of the free here. So uh, something to think about and maybe learn more about. How would we learn more about that? What are good sources of European news that we can trust?
on the English-speaking sources, the only English-speaking source that I can think of is the BBC.
Okay.
Yes, that's obviously a little closer to home. Um, but I mainly read the Dutch newspapers. Watch the Dutch news on via internet. It's kind of convenient that that's possible nowadays. And you talk to the people. I read the news in Ukraine, so you see, and then the news here, and you talk to many people, so you kind of get a good idea of what's going on. But if you're not bilingual, then you're kind of restricted.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, the positive thing about the Dutch is their fabulous race driver Verstappen.
Yes,
There, four-time champion in there. What's his first name?
Max.
Yeah, Max
Right.
Verstappen. And you met Steve Jokums, I think, during Shuttle Fest.
I believe I have, yeah.
Steve got us our patches and decals and so forth, and he's a big Ferrari supporter like myself. So
Okay.
we were watching pretty good show up in Canada over the weekend there in Montreal. And Verstappen ended up second there, and the Ferrari's not so good. But anyway, uh, we love following that, and so the Dutch are in the minds of the F1 drivers all the time up there. So, any final comments you'd like to make on this since I opened up the politics a little bit of where you're from in Europe, and I find that really not good news that like a hurricane you all are preparing for, to be out of services and stuff.
Yeah,
It's
big investments. They're opening up factories. Drone production is getting into gear. All those things. Large orders for trucks and other weaponry.
hmm.
So, yeah, things are happening
And then
in
here we
Europe.
have a conflict rising up with uh, Iran and Israel, and
That's kind well, that could be convenient.
yeah. Well, people told us. I got a text from somebody today that said they saw in the news that you better fill your tank now because next week it might be 30 or 50 cents more if this conflict in Israel and Iran Iraq escalates. And my gosh, being a baby boomer and like Marty growing up with the nuclear threat over your heads all the time, it's just amazing in a way that nobody has detonated a nuclear bomb
Well, every
in
time
that theater.
when we talk about that, I gotta think about this visit to Huntsville, and me and my wife were there, and we found out where Werner von Braun's house was. So we drove over there, and then we got there, and then I decided to knock on the door and to see if we could see their house. And we couldn't get into the house because there was COVID going on, and they just had a small child. But they opened up the backyard, and in his backyard there's his bomb shelter.
Wow.
Werner von Braun built a bomb shelter in his backyard. He knew what was going
In
on.
Huntsville.
Yeah,
Wow. That's something else there. That's interesting. Well, enough of that politics there, but a good different perspective is what I wanted to bring to our Stay Curious viewers here. And I'll look forward to having dinner with you tonight and talking some more about that. Of course, right in the Russian wheelhouse is propaganda, and none more propaganda than putting a woman in space after 5 men on the last Vostok space mission on this date in 1963. Valentina Tereshkova became immortal, basically, with her first flight. There she is. She's 88 years old there now, double snowman, and as famous as Neil Armstrong or her predecessor, the first man in space, Yuri Gagarin. You ever get a chance to meet her?
No, I've never met her, but I do remember seeing her spacesuit though in Star City.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna show a few pictures of Star City there, but she is, of course, the first woman in our women's gallery there. Got a picture there with Sally Ride behind her in our wonderful. You like our women's gallery, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 83 women. 83 women been to space.
It's quite a
Okay,
few.
right?
You walk into that room and you don't realize how many women have been up there
Yes.
until you get there.
But of the 83, you know how many are Russian, Daniel?
I have no idea.
Four.
Wow.
Four. In the first two. Okay, Setlava was the second one because they wanted her to be a real cosmonaut, and then she did the first spacewalk right before Kathy Sullivan. And 4 out of 83. Okay, and it's just kind of, yet China in their first 20 years of human space flight have put 3 women up. Okay, and
They're in a hurry to catch up.
yeah, so um, but here she is getting suited up for this famous trip to space. She was chosen, you all know the story, because she was part of a parachute group, and she and another woman were tagged to be the best paratroopers. Why would that make a difference? Because they ejected out of their spacecraft. I'll show you a picture of that. All of the Vostok, the first 6 cosmonauts, did not ride their spacecraft down with them. They ejected out and watched it on another parachute go down. And I'll have you comment about that in a minute. There's the classic picture of her. And yes, she did meet the most famous man in the world at the time, moonwalker Neil Armstrong. So there you have the first and the first man, both of them immortalized. Don't know what it must have been the Apollo Soyuz test project. I see a picture there on the bottom there. Marty, you see something that we need to ask, or a question to Daniel, let me know. We're happy to have you all ask Daniel any questions. He's just a big old space nerd, aren't you?
Oh yes.
And you've had the fortunes to go many places. We'll talk about that in a minute. This is what that Vostok looked like in space. So you're going like, okay, those of you don't know what the layout of this spacecraft was, here's where they were. Oh, wait, Marty, where's my picture? I froze up over here. There we go. There we go. There's the configuration. The cosmonaut was in the ball, and all the support and so forth was in the back there. The retro rockets would fire. The ball would basically, we had a contoured type of re-entry heat. This was all ballast weighted on that. What can you tell us about that, since you've been to Star City?
That spacecraft is a little bit bare bone, as you can see in this picture. Not a whole lot of buttons to play with.
Yeah, this is inside a Vostok spacecraft. They got the Earth 8 ball there. Most everything familiar to just a regular pilot, right?
Yeah, it's very simple. It's mostly automated. I remember clearly looking into Gagarin's spacecraft. Yeah, there it is right there.
Yeah. That's your picture, Gagarin's at Star City?
Right, yep. The only one with a red carpet going to it. And it's not protected or anything like that. It's not in plexiglass. You can touch it, you can feel it. It is the only one where you cannot go inside, because it is closed. But other than that,
took a picture inside there of it.
Yeah, it's you can get right up to it. It's at the factory where they built it. So it's not a public museum.
Oh, okay.
And so you cannot just go over there and knock on the door and say, I want to tour your place.
Well, how'd you get the privilege to do that?
Through the same company that arranged all the training and the
Right.
zero-G flights over there and everything.
Yeah.
It was a company that could do everything. They could send you to the space station if you had the funds to do so. So I told them, well, I want to do everything except that.
All right. And look that up. Just Google Daniel's name on our YouTube page, and you'll see a great. He did a great program on that. Very pretty much in depth of your training and so forth. But look at the padding in there. That was something that I got. It's like a crazy room there that when I was in the straitjacket back in the 80s. And no, I was never in a straitjacket, okay? Never was in a padded room. Though Marty's like wanted to put me in one a few times, I'll bet.
Uh,
No, okay. But here's what an artist rendering of that ejection seat. So well done in the Cosmosphere in Kansas. You been there?
Oh yeah, it's a great place.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I just stared at. We're gonna have a program on Thursday with Bob Granath, and he's gonna talk about Alexei Leonov's spacewalk. And I said, well, I'm gonna throw a picture from Cosmosphere in there of the tunnel that he used
Right.
to go out. And I mean, it's like it's burlap. It's like not even space age looking material. It was like a burlap canvas looking thing, right?
Yeah, you gotta have some nerve to use that in
Ah.
space because it does not look very comforting.
No,
No,
no.
you know, it doesn't look solid. It must have been airtight.
Instead of exposing the other cosmonaut to the environment, because he couldn't have worn a spacesuit that would have kept him alive.
Right.
It would have been too bulky for both of them.
It almost
Uh,
became too bulky.
Yeah, yeah, big drama and so forth. But they
Yeah.
ejected out of, I'm told that's like a MiG fighter ejection seat, adapted or something.
I wouldn't know.
But they've got a cool, I mean, you see the Vostok and you see the cosmonaut on it,
Yeah.
and they've got kind of simulating the ejection there. So this was an issue with the worldwide company. I want to say the aviation, Federal International Aviation, FIA or whatever.
Yeah.
That by definition, a spaceman leaves the Earth and returns to Earth in the vehicle that he left in the Earth. So all of those 6 cosmonauts, including Valentina, wouldn't are kind of like an asterisk because they didn't return in their spaceship. So the first one who did return in a spaceship, the first human,
I don't know who that was. Oh,
and orbited the Earth,
was John Glenn?
John Glenn.
Yeah.
Yes, sirree. Ohio can chalk off another one. The great state of Ohio. Marty, you got a question there or comment?
yeah, RG Jubilee is asking. He has 2 questions. I don't understand the second question, but I'll read it anyway. But anyway, first he's asking, that is so tiny. When you get inside, how do you get out of it? Talking about a capsule. And then he's asking, how do you know space in that space? So I don't know what he's talking about there. But anyway, the capsule is so small, how do
So
you get out of it?
that's so tiny. How do you get it inside and out of it? Okay.
Well, that tunnel was an airlock, right?
Yeah, the tunnel was an airlock. It was an airlock tunnel.
So that door on both sides.
Yeah. And stick around for Thursday's show with Bob Granath. You'll understand the spacewalk. But as far as how you got into this, that was the hatch, and they bolted you in the hatch,
Yeah,
right?
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there was no hinge door like the gull wings of the Gemini, or the opening hatch door of the, pretty similar to the Apollo, I guess. They were sort of bolted in, but it had pyrotechnics on it.
The only way out was his ejection seat.
Yep, yep, right, right. Because they could not survive the landing, okay, under a parachute. They were afraid that they wouldn't. And so to solve that problem, they put retro rockets that at about 8 feet above the surface, these solid rockets blast to cushion the blow. But even the Soyuz spacecraft, now used for 40 years, some American astronauts, Katie Coleman, who I talked to
Mhm.
at the Scholarship Astronaut Hall of Fame a couple of weeks ago, said that's quite a jolt landing in that thing.
Yeah, you don't want to have your tongue between your teeth.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Don't and so there we go with Chris Callie says hello, Daniel,
Hi, Chris.
and he don't like me talking about the great state of Ohio and its Ohio State Buckeyes, as he's a Go Blue Michigan, and You being up in Detroit area and Ann Arbor, you understand that rivalry live.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, big rivalry, isn't it? Robert Law said he met Valentina in 1992. Did she still have that Morticia streak of white hair that she's kind of characterized by there, Daniel? Robert, I mean. So anyway, yeah, looking back inside of this, this is history. We have to talk about it. Uh, she, of course, has been part of the political party, Valentina, uh, since she landed. Uh, and I did read that she voted for the invasion of Ukraine. Unfortunately for her, that really disparages my opinion about her. Particularly when you orbit the Earth, everybody comes back with this one world, no borders except the thin blue line type of thing. So,
Well, as a cosmonaut in Russia, you can't really survive unless you're in favor of what their president does.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Putin is a big problem, we understand. Of course, he was a uh, KGB agent
He
and
was, yeah.
ruthless, and he killed he killed the general that tried to make a coup on him back early in that conflict, right?
I believe so.
Yeah,
Yes.
blew him up in an airplane after they had tanks that were going towards Moscow, was the report here.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
him. Yeah, I remember that. Now I know who you're talking about. Yes, yes, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's get away from all that Russian stuff, except that you did experience a little bit of taste of it for a fee that you said was well worth it, though you were conflicted because of what was going on, to experience what it was like to be a cosmonaut training. And there you are in a Sokol suit.
Right. Just,
What was that like?
that suit is not super comfortable, and it's not made. Well, it is made for each individual astronaut because that suit belonged to the Italian astronaut that went up to the space station. He's the only one that is almost as tall as I was.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're 6'2", 6'3", aren't you?
Right.
And so, yeah, like we talked to Rick Mastraccio, who's quite tall, and he did a flight on the Soyuz, and he talked about his knees being up in his chin the whole time he was in there. So, got a picture of you inside. There you are,
Yep. With
in the trainer.
with the stick, so I can reach the push buttons on the panel.
Oh yes, yes. If you ever watch the launches, they have like it looks like a stick that should have a claw on it to get that Marty and I use to get stuff up high.
Yeah.
Marty doesn't use it; he jumps up there. But
See, the engineers left and right are a lot closer to the panel, but the commander in the center, he's a little bit further away.
I see. And slapping your hands away probably when you reach up to touch anything. I'm talking about in space. They
right.
said, "Don't touch anything." Rick was told,
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I love watching those launches inside there live when you see them moving around, and he'll poke something with that stick because his arm doesn't reach there. But have you flown? You've flown. How many airplane type jet things have you flown in your life?
In terms of jets, I was piloting command in jets. It's just been the Airbus and the various sizes.
And what does strike you as the interior and so forth of the
That?
Soyuz?
Well, that's very analog, even though it's updated quite a bit, compared to the earlier versions. I mean, the way the spacecraft looks on the outside is still pretty much the same, but inside it's updated quite a bit. I don't think it's as uncomfortable as it might look, depending on the profile that you fly. Because it's a 6-hour profile, you're going to be in that seat the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
For 2 days, then you're going to be using that extra module that's on top of it.
Yes.
The living module. So you can actually go there and you can sit there, you can stretch your legs, and so
Yeah, I don't have a picture of the Soyuz, but it's basically like the Vostok with 2 bulbous areas. And I always thought that was kind of cool that they had an extra spare room that that a cosmonaut could use to get away or do science
Yeah,
or.
it's pretty
or
roomy because when I was sitting up there, the instructor was sitting next to me and he could actually stand.
uh-huh.
So it's not as bad as it looks.
Now your Airbus is all glass cockpit.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so you don't see too many toggle switches and stuff like that when you're
No,
flying.
most push buttons are on the computers in the center console that you use to program.
Uh-huh.
You know, you put your route in there.
Would you say that technology pioneered what the SpaceX Crew Dragon's doing with?
Maybe. You know, the Airbus 320 series is a 1980s design, so it's been around for a while.
Mm-hmm.
SpaceX, if you look at that, in terms of an airplane that comes close to it, is maybe the 350.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the latest generation. So they got a mouse and everything that they use. It's not all touchscreen. It looks like that spacecraft from SpaceX's touchscreen.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's interesting. And as I talk to you about aviation, you're flying. He always makes me feel good about being a pilot. We had a conversation about the engines, and you could see the engine flow, and you knew the hours on one engine and the hours on the other. So you kind of had to pay attention to maybe the older one more than the other one, that kind of thing, right?
Well, the older engines, you know, we don't really keep track as pilots how much time is on an engine. You know, maintenance does that, but you can see how they behave.
Yeah, the behavior. Yeah.
Which is mainly the older ones, they burn a little hotter and they burn a little bit more fuel.
Uh-huh.
That's how you can tell.
Good career to go into, aviation mechanics, right?
Definitely, yeah, there's a shortage of that. To what degree here, I don't know, but back home, there's a big shortage of aircraft mechanics.
Mm-hmm. So if you got some young man or woman looking to find something to hang their hat on, they've got those kind of mechanical skills or interested in them, I encourage them to go into that. Marty, go ahead with the question there.
Okay. RG Jubilee is asking, Daniel, what do you do when you get a leg cramp?
Leg cramp? I never had one. But if your leg bothers you, you can, provided that it's smooth, you can pass the control on to the autopilot. And you can get up and take care of it. You know, you can get up and stretch your legs on the flight deck.
Okay. Yeah, not sure if he's talking about your current job or, of course, a leg cramp in those spacecraft's a different thing.
If he's talking about the Soyuz, especially on the 6-hour trajectory, you kind of host, as they say. You cannot just get out of your seat. Even if you fly the other trajectory, you just cannot get up at whenever you please.
Right,
You
yeah.
can only get up when it's scheduled on the flight plan to get up. So if you get any cramps in the Soyuz, you just have to deal with it.
Think about Frank Borman and Jim Lovell, who Jim, of course, still alive at 97, and that wonderful Gemini 6 mission, 14 days where they're basically sitting in the same posture. It was so cramped they didn't really experience weightlessness like other astronauts did, and even Apollo, it was roomier.
Yeah, there was no such thing as fresh air in
No,
the Gemini.
or just stretching out. Let me just open this hatch here and get my arms out there a little bit. These guys, what they went through, they don't talk about the physical discomfort. As test pilots, they had a way of compartmentalizing that kind of
Right.
stuff, don't they? We can't do anything about it. Well, what was your big takeaway from your experience at Star City that you still think about when you're on autopilot and looking at going over Ireland there and saying hi to Robert
Yeah.
Law or something? What do you think about your Star City experience?
Oh, it was one of the coolest things I've ever done. You know, you go. I was over there for almost a week. We had a tour at the Energia, where they manufacture the Soyuz, and then we went to Star City to for a physical before we did our 0G flight in their whatever that cargo plane was called. It was a 4-engine high wing jet. I can think of the type right this second.
I want the V, the
It's,
Valkyrie.
No, it was an IL-76, Illusion 76.
Somebody will let us know. Yes, right.
That was the type of aircraft that they used. But yeah, prior to that, they wanted you to go to one of their flight surgeons. We weren't expecting that. They didn't tell us about that in advance. I remember somebody said, "Well, you come all this way. What if they say no?"
Yeah.
You know, it's not going to happen for you. And then there was also a briefing. They explained in detail what exactly what we're gonna do. We spent a whole day at another base where they had a Albatross aircraft, single engine jet, and we did some training in that. You could kind of see it as the training aircraft that NASA uses. Maybe not as high performance because it's just one engine, but nevertheless it was fun. So we played around that for about an hour, and then went back to Moscow, and then that was the end of that day. The actual training day with the centrifuge and going into the simulator and all that stuff, that was a really tight packed day. I remember showing up at the gate with our car, and there's all these people standing there, and I said, what are all these people doing here? Because I thought it was just me. And they said, it is just you. They're all there for you. It's like, so I had 2 or 3 translators, a photographer, a driver, a security person, somebody that represented Roscosmos, and not to mention all the instructors, because you have different instructors for different things that you do.
Fascinating. Well, that's something maybe you'll all want to do. When I guess you probably can't do it now. I don't know. Maybe you can. I don't.
I wouldn't recommend going over there right now.
No, I wouldn't go
No.
over there right now. Being so let's segue from that and to something very much happy. There's your beautiful bride, Luda. Hello, Luda. Can't wait to meet you someday. And where are you at? Or located, to be proper English. Where are you located?
That picture is taken at the Indian space base, so to speak, or space center. We tried to get in there, but even if you just want to see the museum and you're not an Indian citizen, they won't let you do it. So you gotta write them a letter and get permission, all that stuff. And some inquiries, through some inquiries we learned that letter was received. They just decided not to respond to it. So we didn't get in there, but nevertheless, it was cool to be there. When we took off the next day, I tried to find.
There's Luda, and what's that behind her?
Behind her, that's the Indian version of the X-37B.
Didn't know they had a version of an X-37B. No, China's got a version of it.
Right.
This is not flown yet, to my knowledge.
I didn't. I just learned about it when we were there.
Okay.
So
mini shuttle spy plane.
Yeah. But India they got it going on. And they landed a small lander on the moon.
That they did, and Mars too.
Right. Successfully. It tipped over, but the landing itself was successful. So to be able to pull that off is nothing to sneeze at.
Incredible for me to think it's the most populated country on the planet, surpassing China, with over 1.2 with a billion people, and so yes, India has a Voyumanat, Vyomanauts, Voyumanauts is their space people. They have 4 in training right now, and 1 is poised to go to space. That's Shukla, his last name, Shukla. And again, we had Alex Carl on here. I forget what they call him. He's got a nickname. Suba, I think Subahar Shushna is his first name. And very ambitious space program. Just a matter of a couple years, maybe less, till they'll be launching their own Vyumanauts. That's how we go. Vyumanauts up there.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, and they're working hard at their program.
And again, they share what we need to know about it, but they're going up on the Axiom 4 flight that we're looking at. I saw 4:46 a.m. Thursday, and boy, I hate that because man, that's like the worst time to try to get some sleep, or you stay up, or you take a nap,
Yeah.
and you got to watch it. So I will, but I live just a couple miles from the Indian River, where I can go to a boat dock in Port St. John, not too far from where Carlton lives, and we'll probably meet each other. Well, he'll have remotes there. Maybe he'll be out at the center. Marty, you got a pass for that to go see the crew Axiom 4 launch?
No, I don't have a pass. I have my own badge. I can get out there, but I don't have a pass to bring anybody out there. And they did
Okay.
look into it, and they said not this time.
Yeah, that's that were Peggy Whitson, of course, the commander of that, with a Hungarian and the Polish astronaut there. And no, I did not eat that over the weekend. The pierogi. I meant to do that. I forgot. The pierogi's laying over there that Alex gave me. I'll show you that when we get off.
It's quite the international flight, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, it is. It's quite an international flight. You think of the cultures of India, America, Hungarian, and Poland. All different cultures with different foods, different dialects,
I'm sure they have stuff to talk about.
Yeah, indeed. And the training must be something else there. So, anything again, how long have you and Luda been married?
A little over 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And does she work?
Yeah, she works for the European Union.
Okay.
Because the European delegation has an embassy in Kiev, and she works there.
So your wife is living in Kiev.
Correct.
Still.
Yes.
With her family and so forth.
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
well, I'm glad that you can communicate with her. And I hope that that's never compromised.
Oh no, it's not. And I love going over there. Kiev is a great town. Lots of stuff to do. We're never bored. We go out to the parks and exercise there. You can go to the movies, go to the opera, go to the Philharmonica, things like that. We like to go out to the village where her mother lives.
So, well, good. Well, stay safe, Luda, with your family, and we're happy to be interviewing your wonderful husband here, and I'm glad that he considers our museum a great place, and he's a friend of mine, because we bonded over Shuttle Fest, and this was your third of 4 Shuttle Fests to attend.
Third for me.
And yeah, if you missed the first one, and here's a picture that you took, that's Mike Leinbach beside me, Don Thomas, with his bird shirt on. We'll get your impressions of our Shuttle Fest 4 in a minute. Bob Seek peeking around the Legacy 30th anniversary Hubble telescope image called the Cosmic Reef that we won in a contest and put up in the gallery that is next door to our studio here now. And there's Terry White with Eileen Collins, Joe Tanner, and Jonathan Ward there. And Jonathan looks like he's got a mask on, but that's the projection of the image up there when we unveiled this on there. So your impressions of Shuttle Fest 4 and Shuttle Fest in general?
This Shuttle Fest was obviously longer than the last one. It was several days, and first night here at the museum, it's great. It's a small environment, and you get to interact with everybody. There's a couple of astronauts walking around here, get some autographs, and then the next day, at the hotel where we had our presentations, had a good time there. Some artists displays. Chris Kelly was there.
Doug Forrest
Doug
and
Forrest was there.
Ronnie Wood.
Ron Wood, yeah, I mean, their work is magnificent, and it's fun to hang out with them and look at them, and
Yeah, that's the trio we've embraced, and as we will announce that we are going to have Shuttle Fest June 20th and 21st. We've had three committee meetings. We're moving it to June for various reasons. Uh, we feel like we've built it, and you will come whatever date we choose. And that will be the beginning of summer. Maybe get some families come here before and after with kids out of school, that sort of stuff. So June 20th and 21st at the Cocoa Beach Hilton, with on June 19th will be a uh, fundraising Friday here at the Space Museum. And with the date in place, Marty will be getting in touch with Jose Hernandez, who wants to come and do a wine tasting here.
okay,
And then we've got Sid Gutierrez, the first Hispanic commander, wants to come and bring some friends, another astronaut with him. Pretty sure Tom Jones wants to come. And who's Nicole Stott, first one I asked was local to come here. So we'll get the information out on that, but we're a year ahead here, and things should fall into place very nicely. And Chris Callie, yes, sir, we're going to do it on the 20th and 21st in June there. So Cliff Watson wanted to say hello to you. He's waking up to his brekkie in Pomona, Australia.
yeah.
You fly to Australia, have you?
I've been there, but we don't. Obviously, I don't fly there for a living.
Okay.
I've been to Australia twice.
Yeah, I would like to go there once and sleep on Cliff's couch like he slept on mine twice. But I would just love to see the southern stars and
Yeah.
the large and small Magellanic Clouds.
We spent some time in the outback. My second trip there, and they had some star charts laying around in the cabin that we had rented.
Mm-hmm.
So they obviously know that people like looking at the stars, and it's absolute darkness there. So it's even with just the naked eye, the sky is just phenomenal.
Hmm. Well, Cliffy knows that when it's not wet and cold, as they're on the cusp of entering their winter down there in Florida down there. So, Chris Callie, thank you for watching. Doug Forrest, Elena, Tom Usiak, Gary Gerald, Robert Law, Tom Celentano, Dean Babcock, Steve Jokums, R.J. Jubilee, Carlton Bailey, and Dave Stangy, and Mia watching today. Couple personal comments about some of these astronauts, and I don't know if you know, there's Don Thomas during his autograph session, but Don was the astronaut representative for over 2 years in Star City. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about it or anything.
Yeah, I should have tried that connection, because he's talked to us not on a Stay Curious, but that he actually called up. I think Dan Brandenstein was the chief of the office, and said, Dan, I've been here, my wife and I've been here a year. What's the plans? And Don Thomas was told, well, we don't really have a replacement for you, so can you stay another year? And Don said, I really didn't feel like he was asking me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I said, yes, but my wife will be getting a ticket tomorrow to fly back home, because it was just so limited in what they could do.
Yeah, yeah.
You could say going to the movies and Netflix being mailed to them, I think, was a big deal. But he said he was bored out of his mind.
Probably was, yeah.
You know, trying to read stacks of books.
They figured you're there to study, and that's it. So what?
Yeah. And this was after his 4 flights, of course. So a good trooper, a good company man there. But so what'd you think about Don, seeing him operate for 3 days at Shuttle Fest?
Well, he was a great storyteller, and I like his woodpecker story. That was great. The whole presentation.
Yeah, no one had ever seen him do that presentation like that. Nick Thomas particularly saying that it was a whole program about the one woodpecker that
That grounded the
pecked,
shuttle.
yeah, that grounded the shuttle because it pecked into the external tank on STS-70. And I loved it when he said the woodpecker started pecking on Thursday, okay? And when we got back Monday to address the situation, he said NASA had over 100 hours of videotape of watching this one bird peck into the tank. It would get down to the metal and then go to another area. It was looking for food. And Don stopped and said, let that sink in. 100 hours of video of watching this woodpecker destroy our mission. But as I'm told, the right people weren't, they were off on the weekend. And the decision makers weren't there to do anything
So
about it.
nobody knew.
And nobody was going to take a BB gun and solve the situation because it's a wildlife preserve.
Right.
Okay. So, yeah, that was fun there to listen to him talk about that. Great guy. He talks to a group from Japan here a couple times a year. Looking forward to seeing Don back here. And Marty, as far as I'm concerned, I would pay for Don Thomas and Joe Tanner to come to every Shuttle Fest. How about you, my friend?
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely, I agree.
They just bring so much personality. You know, of course, we were just so blessed. You know, Eileen, and we got a picture of her. Here's a wonderful lady, Joanne Morgan. What'd you learn about her at her talk here on our fundraising Friday night at the Space Museum?
I didn't know her before I met her at this event here. So, I mean, so she was running Johnson Space Center. Isn't that correct?
She was not chief, but no, she was in management here at Kennedy Space Center.
At Kennedy, I thought
Yeah,
she was
of course, she was the first woman in the firing room for Apollo 11, and
Oh,
then
that's
she
right.
held
That was it. Yes.
many management positions,
Mhm.
including directly underneath the flight director that she said was very nerve-wracking for her to think that she was involved in that decision. Joanne Morgan, love you, Joanne. She went back to Montana where she summers and will be back here, and I'm going to give her a phone call tomorrow. We missed getting her on Stay Curious, and we will show her recording of her talk there. I need to figure out who actually has that one day that told me they did the whole thing and offered it to us there. So, but that was fun. And then one final picture, you with Eileen Collins. What'd you think about her? Wearing the same shirt you got on today, too,
Yeah.
by the way. Or not the same copy of it.
Oh, she's
As a pilot yourself, knowing her piloting skills in the Air Force and then being the first pilot and then commander of a space shuttle and doing it twice, what would you think?
Well, we didn't really talk about any of that because I wanted that book that she had written together with what's his name? I can't think of it now.
Her book, Breaking the
Jonathan.
Glass Ceiling?
No, the book that she wrote together with Jonathan.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So
Jonathan.
I wanted a copy of that, and I wanted it signed for Luda, and that was going to be her birthday surprise, you know. So we mainly talked about Ukraine and what was going on over there, but you know, clearly she's a very accomplished pilot,
Oh,
and a good commander, but a good commanding style.
you said you had to hide that picture from your wife because you didn't want her to see that you bought that for her birthday or something.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't want her to know.
That's good.
So otherwise, I would have posted
She
it.
liked that, I guess. Huh?
Yeah, she was happy about that.
You're Dutch, she's
Ukrainian.
and you're reading an English book.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep, that's it. So, well, we love her. She is everything that people have said about her, and personally in front of you when she's getting an autograph. I've spent quite a bit of time with her outside of the public spotlight around here.
Hmm.
When she's at the museum Friday night and just talking to her around the things. Just so many astronauts are like that. They all realize their role to inspire the next generation,
Yeah.
and they also understand what we love in them as the daring, bold, uh, uh, really this generation of astronauts and space travelers will be looked upon as really the Conestoga wagon days of when America was opened up in the West, I think.
Right.
I mean, it's very, still very dangerous and very bold to go on that. So, well, one final slide here of where you at on this?
I'm in the control room at JPL. So that room was full with controllers when they are landing the rover Spirit
Mm-hmm.
on Mars.
So you were there during that period of time. Spirit, of course, Jet Propulsion Lab, where the wonderful interplanetary missions are headquartered and built. The rovers were built there.
Yeah, they were there. They were built there, tested there, and I had met the controller that was driving Spirit on the service at the Cosmosphere during a dinner there. I was at this great table. On one side I had Charlie Duke and his wife, and on the other side I had this controller
Huh?
and his parents. So we were talking, and he told me what he was doing for JPL. So I asked him if he could show me around over there. And then so we hooked up, we put it together, and I went over there, and he met me there, and I got the grand tour, and that's how I ended up at JPL.
What'd you talk to Charlie Duke about? His wife Dorothy was with him.
Yeah. They're always together. They're a great team.
Yeah.
But eventually, I've met Charlie, so many times. In the beginning, you talk about, oh, what was it like to be on the moon? What did you think about? And yeah, there was one question that I asked him and some other moonwalkers, and I would ask him, it's like, well, after you arrived and you're actually standing on the surface, did you let it sink in for a minute? But most of them didn't give me the answer that I was looking for or hoping for, I guess. They were just mission oriented, so they were just thinking about the next thing they had to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody said to me, well, what did you think about when you landed on the Antarctic?
On the what?
On the Antarctic continent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I go, well, the same thing. I was thinking about then my next step, because you're very focused. And when we did that
On
first,
Antarctica, you said?
yes,
You flew to Antarctica, huh?
we
Wow.
didn't fly there. So when you say land, it means like when you first make landfall. When you,
Gotcha.
like our ship
Gotcha.
was off the coast somewhere, and then we had these little rubber boats that we used to go there, and the weather was really bad, and the wind was blowing, the snow was going sideways, so there's a lot of stuff you wanna focus on so that things don't go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I gave him pretty much the same answer that these moonwalkers gave me.
Yeah, apparently they all got a moment or two up there, but yes, they're so occupied with checklists, checklists after checklist. In fact, Marty, when we had Jack Lausma here, and I picked him up at the hotel at the Hyatt. I understand, not the Hyatt, at the Courtyard Marriott
Okay.
that they built recently. I understand. I have one, a little astronaut that's got, lights coming out of it in your ceiling, and it goes around and all that. Many of us have that now. And I said something about it's kind of a novelty a couple years ago, and I said, "Hey, I understand you have one of those in your room, little astronaut that throws light up on your ceiling and stuff. Did you like that?" And Jack Lausma, looked at me. He says, "Well, I saw it there, but it didn't have a checklist, so I didn't try to operate it." And that's an engineer astronaut talking to you. He didn't try to even operate it, didn't have a checklist with it. Can't make some of that stuff up. But
Jake spent some time in Star City. Did you know that?
what?
Said Jack spent some time in Star City. Did you know that?
Oh, did he? No, I didn't.
Yeah, he was backup for the Apollo Soyuz.
Oh, okay. I suppose I maybe have read that but didn't think about that. Cliff Watson likes you. He says you're a complicated man, Daniel, but I think accomplished man is the thing you'd like to say. He says, have a beer for me, Cliffy, and we'll do that.
You got it. Cheers.
But so you've been on all 7 continents?
Yes, I have.
Wow.
And I actually have one passport that has stamps on there from all 7 continents. Even though the Antarctic is not a country, there was a research station that belonged to Argentina, and those folks, they stamped our passports.
Huh.
So yeah, that was interesting.
Well, I don't see any more questions there, Marty. We've got anything to clean up on our broadcast today?
No, I think we're good, Mark.
Good. Well, I can't tell you what a pleasure it is for just sit around and talk to you,
Always.
and I think you all enjoy talking here with Daniel de Jong here. Quite a Renaissance man in many, many ways, and true space aficionado. So you can bring Luda with you when Shuttle Fest is going to be June 19th, 20th, and 21st next year. So
I'll throw it in the hat, and hopefully we can make it happen.
all right,
Yeah.
all right. So I'm thanking everyone out there for watching, and Marty for doing a great job, like I mentioned. And we've got a guest tomorrow is going to talk about Mars, okay, the Viking landers. And Rachel Tillman, you're going to enjoy her, is going to be on the show Tuesday. And she's going to give the same talk to our astronomy club on Wednesday. Marty and I have a board meeting of the American Space Museum U.S. Space Walk of Fame Foundation Board of Directors. And Marty's on our Board of Directors. So we will have I'm putting together a what's up in the solar system type of news stories that's that's been out there. Some new things about Pluto, and they think there's another Planet X that's out there, and a couple things about the discoveries of the Webb and Hubble telescope still making news. So we'll do that Wednesday. Thursday, Bob Granath will be with us to talk about the Alexei Leonov spacewalk and what a close call that was. And Friday, we'll open it up to your questions and whatever kind of news we got going on. Hopefully, we'll be talking about Axiom 4 orbiting the Earth with 3 new rookies in space. Right now, it's 633 humans have orbited the Earth, and 83 of them women. So we're fixing to get 3 more put up in space with Peggy Whitson on her 5th flight. That launch happening after 4:30 in the morning on Thursday coming up, so which is Wednesday night for y'all that think like me. So
Again, the rookies.
yeah, exactly. So thank y'all for watching. Until next time, I'm Mark Marquette saying I can't wait to see you again to bridge the space between us.